It's very al dente. It's full of al dente. So we're just going to strain this. And like I said, I just tasted one, and it's very salty. But I'm going to cheat here. Just stop the cooking process. What I'm going to do is just cool it down with some water.
Dry it. Dry it.
Oh no, just cooling it down. So it stops the cooking process. I know this is against all of pasta cooking making, but sometimes when you have to keep things on cold, this is the best way to do it. So I'm just kind of running it through cold water. Again, rinsing out a little bit of that salt water, and to be left with, you know, a nice flavorful pasta. So I have, thank you. On this pan right here, I have a saute pan. What we're going to do is just make a roux. And everyone knows how to make a roux. Basically just flour and butter. And there's many different types of roux. There's a blonde roux, which is what we're making, which is basically just a white roux. So there's also different colors. There's dark roux, almost it's kind of like a reddish, brownish color to it. That's what you make a like étouffée out of, or some gumbo. That kind of roux takes about like 1 hour to make. Seems a lot, but that's definitely what gives it flavor. The darker the roux is, it gives it definitely more of a nuttier flavor to it. So to this, I've already added to my cream mixture here. I've added half a cup or half a pound of mascarpone. Like I said, we're adding a little bit more richness to it. You can definitely omit the mascarpone and omit the heavy cream and just do a milk base to this. But because I work in the restaurants and that's what we do. We don't think about health. And to this, I added about 1 tablespoon of butter. And to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of flour. And just whisk this away. Most situations, what you'll do is probably start with the roux first in a pan and then add your liquid to this. But because I kind of want to observe how thick I want the sauce to be, I do the roux after. But either way is fine. Just cook out a little bit of the rawness of the flour, but I definitely do not want to take this up to a darker color. I want to keep it blonde. Keep it light. Add a little bit more flour to this. And what's great about roux is that you can actually pre-make roux and just hold it and keep it in the refrigerator. So if ever in a situation where you need to thicken up a soup last minute, you can keep your roux in the fridge and just thicken up a soup with it. So to that, I'm going to add this roux to my cream base right here and just thicken it up. Make sure you don't take it to a high temperature because mascarpone will tend to break a little bit. So just thicken that up. It takes about 5 minutes for it to thicken up a bit. Just keep stirring it. While I'm doing this, I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt. Just season just a bit, just because you're not sure how much cheese you're going to put in there, and cheese definitely has some salt to it. I'm going to do a little pinch of nutmeg to this.
Chef Carmen, why the nutmeg?
Benjamin Honey, yes. Nutmeg adds a little flavor to it. Thank you for the question.
How you doing?
To this, I'm adding some white pepper. thickening up nicely. So, with the same pan that I used earlier to put my pasta in, I'm going to add that pasta to that. Thickening up nicely, just a little bit longer, just to thicken it up a bit. Again, adding the cheese to it will add a little thickness to it as well. Constantly stir it. You don't want it to burn on the bottom of the pot. Oh, sure. After that, once it's thickened, what I'm going to do is strain it. Just to remove any, if I have any chunks of roux in there, and also to just to remove the bay leaf and the onions in it. Just do it right over the macaroni. So here, like I said, I'm making a 3-cheese macaroni, and then I'm going to do a second pot, what we do at the restaurant, a bacon and chive mac and cheese. But you know, you could choose whatever sauce you want to do with this, or what kind of style. You know, to make it a little bit spicier, add a little ancho to this, chipotle, make it a little bit spicy. Again, choose whatever cheese you like. Add a little pepper jack to this. So here I've added, I have my cooled down macaroni, and then I have my hot, which is now a Mornay sauce. The bechamel turned into a Mornay sauce because I'm adding the cheese now. The thing with this, you don't need to cook it up for a very long time, just because to a certain point and at a very high temperature, cheese will break and make it gritty. You don't want that at all. What you're doing is just letting the cheese melt and letting the macaroni just warm up. So a low flame and just constantly stirring. Here I have my 2 cheeses, which are the cheddar, striped yellow cheddar, and the aged white cheddar, Vermont. And at this point where it's not melted all the way, but you know, the macaroni's not cooked all the way, this is the point where you will, if you want to do a baked macaroni, this is where you can take it at this point. You don't want it too hot just because you don't want it to break in the oven. What will happen is when the temperature gets too high with cheese and cream, what will happen is it'll break and all the fat will separate from it. Once you get a good consistency and good color in the cheese, you see you've added enough to it. This is when you start tasting and then start seasoning it with it. I just typically like to do just salt. We already added the white pepper to the bechamel sauce, but if you like to do black pepper, that's totally fine. I like to kind of keep the palate nice and pretty with just white.
If you bake the macaroni and cheese, what temperature do you bake it at when you put it in the oven?
Temperature, if you do it, just do it at 350 and cook it for about 20 minutes. Cooking it long enough to cook the pasta right away. Again, I took it up to al dente, maybe a little bit less than al dente. So just to make sure that the macaroni is cooked perfectly.
Come on, if I wanted to bake it and I wanted to put like breadcrumbs on top, what would you recommend for a breadcrumb?
You could do panko, which is a Japanese breadcrumbs, or you could just do Italian breadcrumbs, whichever one you have in the house. Or you can make your own if you have any stale bread. See, it just was about to boil right here. This is the perfect temperature right here where the cheese has melted perfectly and the pasta's cooked just right. Add a little bit more salt to this. Parmesan, if you want a little bit of sharpness to it, add the Parmesan. Again, Parmesan adds a little salt to it as well. So I'm just going to finish it off with that. So here we have our 3 cheese mac and cheese, but technically it's about 4 because I added the mascarpone to it. But like I said, I had a little surprise for you guys. I'm adding bacon and chive to this just to heighten it up a little bit. If you're gonna add the bacon, just watch out for your salt because bacon does have some salt to it and some chives. If you don't like chives, you could do green onions or whatever. I like the combination of onion flavor and bacon to this. It adds a little nice color to it as well. So you can see how creamy it is. Just, if I have my flame too high and if it starts boiling, what happens is that you'll see the grittiness of it. You don't ever want cheese to happen that way. That's why a lot of people prefer to do a lot of recipes. Home recipes are made with Velveeta, just because Velveeta has a lot of preservatives in it to where it never breaks. It's kind of like the Twinkie; it probably survives a bomb. But if you want to do just gourmet cheeses, you have to just be careful with temperatures. Other cheeses that might not go well with this, all cheeses will melt fine, but you just have to grate them very finely, such as like Gruyere or smoked Gouda. Those take a little bit of time to melt, but if you grate it very finely, then you'll have a nice texture out of it. So. Here's our mac and cheese, and to that I'll add our short ribs. This is one meal right here, or if you do it individually, I'll probably eat this by myself. You can get fancy with it with your friends and family, but here, I'll just shred it. But again, like I said, if you have any leftovers of this short rib, what's awesome, you can make taquitos out of it. If you have any leftovers, if you want to do a taquito night. You can definitely also do, like I said earlier, a panini short rib or a short rib sandwich. Again, don't pay $13 for it at the restaurants. You can definitely make this on your own at home. But because, like I said, because short ribs, boneless short ribs do have a higher fat content, what's amazing about this is that as I'm shredding it, I can remove the fat out of it. Because I didn't want to remove the fat earlier, because the fat does add flavor to that.
I didn't see what you did with the short ribs. What did you braise it in?
I braised it, and this is a coconut braised short ribs. Basically, just unsweetened chocolate. You can definitely use cocoa powder.
Yeah.
Unsweetened cocoa powder with it. I've seen, you could also add some depth to it. Use espresso or some coffee to that. You could do that too. This one, I definitely made it savory by adding honey and some maple syrup to this. And right here, what I added is some aromatics. I have some garlic, some shallots, rosemary, fresh thyme, red wine. You need some sort of wine or some acid to break down all the enzymes. No wine in there. It might take a little bit longer. If you could definitely do just with some stock, but some sort of acid in there with wine or vinegar. Braising is also a big cooking technique in Asian cooking. We use soy sauce. Oh. So you need something to break down all the enzymes.
I like it. Was there a recipe that you had? We came in with at the macaroni and cheese part.
Oh, yeah. No, I have recipes.
Oh, great. Okay.
So here we go. And like I said, with this braising liquid, earlier you missed, the reason why I like braising, and this is the reason why I chose to do this recipe is because when you're braising, when you cook down the liquid, you'll have a sauce left over. Use that sauce over it. Delicious. It's one pot cooking. Anyway, folks, this concludes our lunch for today. Today we made our coconut braised short ribs. You can use whatever kind of protein you like. Do chicken, do pork belly, whatever you like. Rump roast. Tougher cuts of meat that are cheaper, but when you cook them, they just become luscious and delicious. We also made our 3 cheese mac and cheese, which made the mother base of it, which is bechamel, and from there you could take it onto other sauces as well. So.
Very nice.